Hi, I'm Keith Gerein. I'm the legislature columnist for the Edmonton Journal. Governing is choosing. That's what Premier Jason Kenney told us Wednesday night in his televised address on global television. And when we got a chance to see his government's first budget on Thursday, that is in fact what his government has done. They have made some choices. And some of those choices are going to be very, very controversial. The big headline from this budget is that there is going to be a 2.8% overall cut in program spending. It's the first one in a quarter century. The problem is that those cuts are not evenly distributed. And some of Kenney's political opponents, which will include university students, which will include Edmontonians, are not going to be very happy. University students, for example, who have enjoyed a 5-year tuition freeze are going to see their tuition increase perhaps as much as 10% a year depending on the program. They are losing their tax credit. Tuition and education tax credit. And the government is increasing interest rates on their student loans. So those folks will not be happy. Municipalities are losing out. They are going to be losing funding. Grants are reducing. Calgary and Edmonton, who work so hard for those big city charters to allow them more opportunities to raise their own revenue, those agreements are being torn up. When it comes to infrastructure funding, Edmontonians are really being hit hard. We've already lost our lab hub, $590 million there. We knew that one already. But in this budget, we're also finding out that a new child and youth mental health building of $194 million or $200 million is also being scrapped, or at least deferred for several years. The new hospital that was supposed to open in 2026, that's not going to open until 2030 now. And a new provincial operations center where they manage wildfire and disaster emergencies. That is also being scrapped for the Edmonton area. Seniors will also be a little unhappy with this budget because some of their drug benefits are changing and dependents will no longer be covered. Other seniors who make more income will be asked to pay more for their medications, or at least the government says that they will be exploring that. On the revenue side, the government has also made some choices. In particular, this budget shows how big of a gamble their corporate tax cut is. The government still can't say when that is actually going to make the government money. In the meantime, though, it is a drain on the provincial finances. Where does all this leave us? Well, based on the numbers, based on the paper, not a lot different from where the NDP would have us. The government says the debt will now actually be at around $93 billion come 22-23. If the NDP had stayed in power, that debt would only be a little bit higher, $97 billion. So that doesn't appear to be a lot different. This year's deficit is actually going to be about $6.5 billion, very comparable to the NDP's last budget, which was $6.7 billion. Now, the UCP says this figure will get better. Over the next 3 years, the deficit will decline, and eventually we will be back in surplus by 22-23. However, it still depends on a lot of things going right. Oil production has to increase, oil prices have to increase, pipelines have to get built, and the corporate tax cut has to succeed. If even one of those things doesn't work out, the government says it is absolutely committed to further spending cuts, and you can bet that's going to bring a lot more controversy.